start a war. What you think that I've been fighting for? Got a cape on like a superhero. They rushing at me like a matador. Nah, I don't need your energy. I don't need the negativity. I'm just trying to bring my people up. Promise y'all I got the remedy. Straight to the roof, tell them we bringing the troops. We got a little surprise, you thinking that we the truth. We keep it 120, we never make an excuse. So go run and tell everybody doubting that we coming for you.
All right, guys, we are live with our second broadcast. So we'll give it a few minutes to let people come in. If you can, do me a favor in the comments on whatever you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on YouTube. Just leave a comment. Let me know where you are coming from. We've changed our setup a little bit as we continue to perfect this process. Like I said, this is our second live. So just to make sure everything's working, people are coming in, just leave a comment. Let me know your hair. Let me know where you are coming from before we get into the show. Also added Nick, our director of creative, into the back end so he can start to moderate and help me out on our side of broadcasting this live. Next week, most likely, will be the week that we go to hooking it up to our DSLR cameras and our pro equipment, so it's not just the streaming webcam. Today, we're going to be talking about technical sales presentations and how to not show up and throw up. So just to make sure everything's working, let's see if anybody can leave a comment. Make sure that this is being broadcasted on all channels. And then we'll get into it. All right, so I've had a couple. Yep, Nick's got me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thank you, Nick, for that. All right, so as you guys come in, as you guys have seen this, regardless of how far we are into the show, just leave a comment. Let me know you're here, that everything sounds good, looks good. Today, we're talking about technical sales presentations. So this terminology of showing up and throwing up, I've seen for the last 15 years. Whether you are doing manufacturing, industrial, or you have a technical service or product, something like software, IT, security, things like that, this applies to everybody. I know most of my followers and most of my connections out there are primarily in the industrial manufacturing space. But for those of you that aren't, and you're watching this on a later broadcast or watching this on our YouTube channel, this still applies to you. The most common thing that I've ever seen in the last 20 years that I've been in business is when you have something to sell, and this doesn't matter if you have been doing sales for 20 years or you've been doing sales for 2 months, when you have something to sell, the most common thing to do is the potential customer is going to say, hey, do you want to give me a presentation on what it is that you're selling, services, capabilities, your product, whatever it is, and walk me through it. And that's just because that's what they're used to for the last 20, 30 years. The salespeople then say, sure. And they pull up their presentation deck and they go through it and they're like, here's our service offering. Here's what we do. Here's the benefits to you. Here's everything that's going on. We've got a couple comments coming through. Nicole Alexa can hear us, which is great. And then one other, I don't want to butcher the name, otherwise I'd read that out loud. So perfect. Streaming on LinkedIn. And so you go in and you just show up and throw up and you just start talking about your capabilities, your pitch, whatever it is that you're trying to solve their problem. But how could you even do that without asking any questions? And so when I was in technical sales and I was in your shoes, I used to I would have a presentation deck ready, but I would almost always never use it. And so it's kind of like how we're doing these streams. It's kind of like how the hundreds of videos that we have on YouTube and on LinkedIn, I go into those with literally maybe 3 bullet points. This live, I have no bullet points. I have no paper. I go into it completely authentic with a thought in my head, and I just kind of riff and spit it out based on whatever it is that comes to mind on the subject. So if you go in too planned, then you come off as being less authentic. I mean, nobody wants to sit in a presentation and just have a robot walking through a slide or a deck. And then even look at the situation pre-COVID, right? You walk into a conference room, you got 4 to 8 or 12 people in it. The lights are low. You throw it up on the screen. Everybody's looking at the TV at the end of the conference table. They're not looking at you. They're reading the stuff before it shows up there. And they're already starting to form their own assumptions, form their own conclusions. and it just doesn't do any justice to you and when you're trying to solve their problem. Dr. Ramesh from Swift Green Filters, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. And so that's a common way of people doing it. And even today, if somebody reached out to us, I just had a call 2 days ago with a potential customer. The conversations are completely different. You don't go into it with this show up and throw up mentality. You go into it that, look, what you're trying to do is solve a problem of theirs. Whatever the problem is that they have, that's what you're looking to find out. You're looking to find out the pain points and figure out what is it exactly that you can touch on to build that trust, like we talked about last week, and to establish that you have a solution for them. Sometimes when you start talking to people and you start asking about their pain points and you start asking them questions, you're going to maybe find out that, you know what you have to offer is not the best fit. And if you're an authentic salesperson, you're ethical, you're going to pull yourself out of that situation and be like, look, I'm not just trying to make a sell. I'm trying to actually solve your problem, and I can't do that because I don't think that we will. Or maybe you can spin it in a way to where it could solve an auxiliary problem of theirs, not the main one, and then work on a solution for that. But you have to go into it asking questions. You cannot go into it with this rehearsed pitch. Now, having an elevator pitch, having a hook line, if you're doing cold calls and things like that, that's fine to get that engagement. But you don't want to go into it and just say, all right, here's my 22 slides on what it is that we do, what it is that our product does. Let me read through it. Let me go through the background. You're going to bore people. And that is not what people want these days. They want to be engaged. They want to be asked questions. People like talking about their problems when it comes to work, because at the end of the day, you are there to solve their problems and make their job easier, regardless of what it is that you're selling, service or product. The whole intent and the purpose between why you're having a conversation with them is to solve their problem. So if you go into it and say, this is literally exactly how my call went 2 days ago and how every call has gone for the last 2 years for me, is I go into it and say, look, you reached out to us. How did you find us? And answer that question if they reached out to you and it's an inbound standpoint. And so when I get on a call with customers talking about industrial marketing and MFG Tribe as an agency, I say, tell me what it is that you're currently doing, and then tell me what it is that you'd like to do in the future. You got it, Tushar. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the comment. And so by simply doing that and asking the question, you get them to talk and open up about what it is that they're doing. What are they trying to do? You know, from a technical sales standpoint, you can say, what's the top 3 things that are causing you headaches on a daily basis? And I don't care if the person's in purchasing, engineering, operations, maintenance, it doesn't matter. They all have problems. They're willing to talk to you because they feel like you might be able to solve a problem of theirs. So you're trying to make their day easier. You're trying to make their job easier. And that's the whole purpose behind why you're there. And so asking them those key questions, what is it that's keeping you up at night if they are that involved in their business? Or what are the top 3 things that you deal with on a daily basis that if you can wave a magic wand would disappear? And really get them to open up and let them talk, because then from there, you're going to figure out what is the solution to that specific problem. And so in our case, I could sit there and go through a deck and say, we've been around for 6 years. This is our team. These are our capabilities. Thanks for the comment there. And all these things. And so you can do that, and then you're going to lose their attention and you're going to bore them. If you put it up on a screen, they're going to be reading it ahead of time. Anytime that you go through and you're giving a presentation to a larger group of people and they're like, let me print this out ahead of time, then now they've got it in their hands, and you don't want them to have that because they're just going to read ahead and skip ahead through the content. So going into it without that type of mindset and just saying, look, I'm here. I know my product. I know my service like the back of my hand. I know everything that it is that we have to offer. What I want to do is simply talk to you about what it is, the solution that you're trying to solve, and ask them those questions. What are you currently doing? What are you looking to accomplish? What type of growth do you want to see? Regardless of what it is, what's your biggest threat from a security standpoint of cybersecurity? No matter what it is, that's what you have to go into asking, and then sculpt and customize your solution to that problem based on what that problem actually is. Instead of spending time going through all the different things that you can do and all the different things that you can solve of theirs, if it's not a fit and if it's not applicable to the situation, then why would you even talk about it? So when I talk to potential customers, I ask them those questions. What are you currently doing with your marketing? Oh, we're doing a lot, or we're doing none. What is it that you guys are looking to accomplish? Oh, we want to grow 30% in the next year. We're a one-man team. We're looking to bring in an agency that can take care of all this for us because we don't want to spend $400,000 on salaries. And they turn to us and say, we can spend a lot less if we hire an agency that has all those people. And so once we start going through that, it's like, okay, now what's your budget? And I don't ask the question to just be insulting and say, if you don't have the money, I'm not going to spend time with you. It's intentional from the standpoint that if, depending on your budget and depending on what you're looking to spend, there's different solutions for that. If you tell me you're willing to spend, let's just say for argument's sake, $10,000 versus $1,000 versus $100,000, those are three different scopes of what you can accomplish with the solution. So I don't want to go into the things that are going to cost $100,000. There's no point of doing it if you tell me that you've only got $10,000 to spend. It's just a complete waste of time. So take that mindset and apply it to your specific situation. What is it that you're selling? What is it that you're marketing? When you talk to customers, are there different ranges? Are there different auxiliary equipment or different lines of your products or different service capabilities that you have that maybe aren't a fit for them? And then determine what it is that is the best fit and only talk about that. You're not leaving money on the table. You're not leaving opportunity on the table. You can certainly say, look, at the end of the day, we've got a big team here and our capabilities are pretty huge. I can go all the way up to XYZ. We can do all of these things for you. However, based on the fact that these are your problems that you're trying to solve, I feel like we need to sculpt the conversation around doing ABC first. Now, keep in mind, we can do those other things, but for right now, there's no point of talking about that. So how about, is it okay if we just talk about these ABC issues? And they're probably gonna be like, yeah, that's great. Because you want to stick to the schedule and stick to the timeline. You don't want to just sit there and bore them, because once you lose attention, you're going to lose trust, and then you're never going to get them again, right? You've only got one shot to make a good impression, and you only make first impressions one time. And so that's the main purpose, is that you're looking to solve problems, not sell products or services. Let's take a look at the comments. I know Nick's been throwing them up there. So question is, do we need to have an engineering degree to become a technical sales executive? Most about all the background you need of the technical stuff. So since we're talking about technical sales, I'll answer that directly. I do not believe that you do need to have an engineering degree. Guess what? I do not have an engineering degree. I actually didn't even graduate high school. I went through and got my GED because I was about 5 credits short. Then I became an engineering technician. Then I became a manufacturing engineer by title, and I started doing schooling at night, but I never finished my degree. And I was a sales engineer for 10 years. I made it all the way up to the top VP of sales and marketing at 3 different companies, grew them significantly. We're talking $20 to $40 million a year of growth, blew them up. And a lot of people that I know that are that successful, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, do not have an engineering degree. It all depends on the company, though. Some companies say you have to have an engineering degree to sell technical stuff. I would say that I will take somebody, if I own a technical company, whether it's manufacturing, industrial, software, security, whatever, I will take somebody 9 times out of 10 that has the drive for sales and the perseverance and has that personality over somebody that has the technical experience. Because usually what ends up happening is when you get people that are way too technical, that is their safe spot, right? So their safe, comfortable space is to talk technical. And if people are only talking technical, they're going to go into those conversations and they're going to show up and throw up that content that they have, the capabilities. They're only going to focus on the technical stuff. We've got these capabilities. We can hold these tolerances. We got this type of equipment line. We've got this type of security performance, whatever it is. They're going to only focus on technical. Now, can it help to have a foundational technical knowledge? Yes, it can help. But a lot of times in sales, when technical people, technical project engineers, technical product development people get into sales, a lot of times they stay too technical and they don't flip that switch in their mind that says, I'm going into sales now. I do not need to focus on product development. I do not need to answer every single question. I have a team of engineers that support me. I'm here to make money for the business and grow the pipeline. So I hope that answers your question. Feel free to send a follow-up comment if it doesn't. Tushar says, well said, soft skills are important. Top technical is daunting and can really stall conversation. Yeah, if you focus too much on the technical stuff, you're going to just be wasting time. And so I literally, for the last, I don't even know, 10, 12 years, have gone into every single pitch. I don't care if it's an $8 million deal or an $8,000 deal, I go into every single pitch with a blank piece of paper. And I know what it is that the business I'm selling for or working for can do. But I go into it and I literally say this: thanks for taking the time to meet with me. How is it that you came across the company? And I'll answer the question. Okay, so what I want to do is, instead of bore you with a pitch, which I have ready if you need to, instead of bore you with that, I just want to have a conversation of what was it that made you reach out to us in the first place? And what do you guys have going on? And that's it. And then just sit back and wait and let them talk. And don't interrupt them. And don't jump into and say, yeah, we can solve that. Oh, that's your problem. Yeah, we can solve that. Just let them give their entire spiel of what it is that they're looking to solve. What problems do they have? And then once it's done, then you can say, okay, well, here's, we've got a lot of capabilities and here's some things that I feel could fit. Let's go in through the comments. Nick, if you want to throw a couple of those up there on the screen. Susan, you're coming in from Brownsville, Indiana. Very cool. So for those of you who don't know, I grew up in Chicago. I lived there for almost my whole life. 3 years ago, moved down to Texas because it was getting a little bit too cold. And I talked to my family today, and it is snowing in Chicago today. So 3 years ago, made the move. Don't regret it at all ever since. And Nick is also from the Midwest. I think St. Louis, right? East, west, southwestern Illinois. So he's used to it too. So yeah, sales over technical stuff every single day, 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. That's what I would say. People get too caught up in it. Now, if the company that you're trying to work for has a requirement, that doesn't mean that you can't find a company that doesn't. Thank you, Kyle. I agree. This is a good answer. I appreciate that. And if there's a follow-up one, feel free to ask it. So, I mean, the moral of the story is you focus too much on technical. You focus too much on the presentation. You're not coming off as authentic. If I had a whole script and a teleprompter behind this live event, and this is exactly how we shoot our videos. If you've seen my YouTube channel and gone through the videos, there's nothing behind the camera. There is no script. I usually have a legal pad that has 4 bullet points just to make sure that when Nick is doing all the creative behind the scenes, I'm not just rambling on for 25 minutes that he has to cut down into a 12-minute video. But I go into it with just the topic in mind, and I just kind of go from there. And that's how you have to take the approach with sales. Greetings from Tijuana, Mexico. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. And so if you go into it with this whole pitch, you're going to come off as not being authentic. You're going to bore people. It's going to be a pointless conversation. And you're going into it with these preconceived notions that you're just going to throw up all your information and see what sticks, right? Throw everything up against the wall and see what sticks. Another question coming in from Tushar. Question for you. Any tips on closing longer sales cycles? I've been setting up territory for my company, which is sort of new for them. At times I feel waiting is a large part of the job once you've reached out and engaged with your prospects. Once touch points become more spread out, 1 to 3 months, deals feel out of your control. Yeah, 100%. So let's dive into that because that's a great question. So all my experience is in long sales cycles. It could be 3 months, it could be 3 years, it could be never. And so the tips on that is, because you know it's going to take a while, because you have a long sales cycle, you have to bust your butt in the beginning to get that activity rolling and that pipeline starting to go out there. And so what you have to do is just go super aggressive and increase the total amount of people in the top of your funnel first. So don't go after 10 people, go after 100, go after 1,000, and really pile it up, because there will be, like, timing is everything in this industry in technical sales. I don't care if it's like a software as a service or industrial manufacturing stuff. Timing is everything. And so you want to start the timer now. And instead of starting the timer with 10 people, you want to start it with 1,000 people. And then as you keep working it, eventually some of those people are going to fall off and some of those people are going to come in further into your pipeline because their timing lines up with what you're doing, and you still need to follow up with them. So when it comes to 1 to 3 months, it feels out of your control. I 100% agree with that. And I can relate to it. I have 2 potential customers right now that haven't responded to me in 4 weeks. So what did I do? I picked up the phone and called them yesterday. Follow-up email. I've already done that. The next thing is going to be poking them on LinkedIn. And if I have to send snail mail or go visit them, then I will. But you want to keep following up with them. Don't just do it every 3 months. If somebody says follow up with me in 2 months, do it in 6 weeks. But you want to keep following up with them and keep the pipeline as full as possible, because you don't want to reach that point where you are just waiting. If you have time in between of when you're waiting for people to respond to you, waiting for a campaign to finish, waiting for them to meet with their boss, things like that, you're focusing on putting more people in. because sales is just a numbers game, right? So the denominator is the total potential people that you're talking to. You need to make that as huge as possible to increase your odds to close that sale. So my pipeline is jammed for 2022. It's insane how things I did over the year added up. Yeah, that's great to hear. And so now you want to focus on 2023. And what you also want to focus on is like deals can fall apart, right? Unless you have the purchase order and they've sent over the money, nothing is done until you start producing it or until they get on as a service or whatever it is that you're selling. So you want to, that's great that 2022 is filled up. See if you can pack more into it, right? Even if your team says, dude, we're swamped, we cannot take any more, pack more into it if you can. Because the best situation is that you want to get into is where you're turning away business because you're too busy, because then you're in more control, right? You're not liable to the other party making their decision. You're able to control it and say, okay, I really want this opportunity with you, but we're swamped right now and we're trying to expand their capabilities. We're trying to expand our user base, whatever it is. And we're going to see if we can get it done, but this might have to push out into 2023. That's perfectly fine. Those are the conversations you want to have. You don't want to be begging people for business. So I would say keep pushing in it. A lot of times technical salespeople, when they're like, and we had one client that was in industrial contract manufacturing down in Mexico, and they're like, we're booked out for the next year and a half. Okay, that's great. But do not rest on your laurels and do not become complacent, because that's usually the handcuffs that happens to salespeople. Is like, dude, I'm good. I'm good. I've got my 2022 locked up, 2023 locked up. I don't have to do anything for the next 2 years. And then something happens with the economy, something happens with those contracts, something happens with those companies. There's acquisitions. Maybe they don't want to do your product or service anymore. Maybe they change their mind. Maybe upper management does some things, and you don't want to sit back and just coast at that point. You want to keep pushing and count those chickens, because they probably hatch for the most part, but don't just say I'm good. You never want to give up and keep pushing through. All right. Any more comments? Any insight on closing long sales from Tushar? So long sales, the biggest advice I can give you if you have a long sales cycle, which a lot of our clients do and a lot of people I talk to do, is don't give up on following up. So usually what happens is people become impatient. They follow up once. The number one mistake of salespeople is they do not follow up enough. There's statistics out there where it's 50, 60, 80% of salespeople only follow up 2 times and that's it. And it takes 5, 6, 7, 8 times of reaching out to people and engaging with them before you can close a deal. Most people stop after 1, 2, or 3. And they just say, well, I sent them over that proposal. I sent them over that information. If they want to pick us, they will reach out. You got to keep going. Put it in some sort of automation campaign with a CRM system through HubSpot. Do it through some automation on LinkedIn. Whatever it is that you have, abilities at your hand based on the way that your company's set up. Set those things up. You never want to give up on it, and you never want to stop following up. Just understand going into it like, look, this is going to be a long process, right? Accept that. That's reality. And it's going to take a while for this to close. So I'm going to focus on bringing as many people in as I can to close them, and let these things play out and continue to follow up every month, 2 months, following up with people until they tell you absolutely not, that project's dead, I will never do business with you. You still want to follow up. Another question. There's a chance for me to start a technical sales internship in May of 2020. You might have meant 2022. What would be your advice for a student like me that's starting in sales as an intern? I would say soak up as much information as you can. A lot of times your first role in a sales department, if you don't have the experience, is going to be in a supporting role. You want to be very outgoing and get to know everybody in those different departments and different roles and positions, and do whatever you can to help them. So if you're an intern, you're doing data mining, data support, you're helping them with follow-ups, you're doing initial inbound calls, something like that. You want to support the guys above you in sales, because that is what's going to get you to be remembered. If you're just checking off the boxes, doing tasks, but not actually having conversations and getting to know those people and building that relationship and that network internally, because let's not get it twisted. The politics inside of a business, depending on the size of your company, they can be pretty difficult to deal with. And so it's no different than you trying to network with people outside of your company or outside of who it is that you know. It's the same thing internally. You want to know everybody in that company. And from a sales department standpoint, you want to soak up as much information, ask those senior people questions, learn as much as you can from them, help them out no matter what it is. And I guarantee you, if you do that, depending on where you're at in your career, if you have an internship the next year, they will ask you back. And once you graduate from school, they may ask you to come on and do a supportive role as inside sales or technical sales support or something like that. And you want to take that opportunity because that's your ground level and getting your foot in the door. But from my experience, when I was in management roles and senior management roles at companies, I always looked to the people that helped me out the most and supported me the most and said, I want them, even though they have no experience, they have no degree in this, they've got drive, they supported me through this journey. I want them to be my right hand, or I want them to have their own territory. And that's what you want to do, is you really want to try and prove to yourself that you're a team player and prove that you're a hustler and prove that you've got the drive and the grit and go after that as hard as possible. And then just wait for that next year when they come back to you. And if they don't, you can say, this is, at the next company and next internship, or when you go and try and get a full-time job after school, you go into and say, this is what I did for 2 years as an intern, for 1 year as an intern. I did all these things. I helped these people. Here's what I learned. Here's what I accomplished. That's what people want to see, is those successes that you had and how did you support the growth of the business. We need marketing you need a marketing company. Dr. Ramesh. Yeah. So we do marketing only for industrial and manufacturing companies. And it depends on what country you're in, because if you're offshore and you're marketing to Europe specifically, that's not something we really focus on. We really focus on growing US brands within the United States. That's really our sweet spot. But yes, we do everything. You go to mfgtribe.com. I'll put it up there in the comments. Tribe.com. Nick, if you want to show that. Go to mfgtribe.com to take a look at what we do. We only do very specific things. If you got a trade show, we're not going to design your booth backdrop. But if you're looking to dominate your brand and grow, there's very strategic things that we do that just have been working and continue to evolve from a strategy standpoint. It's driven by content, articles, and videos, which we do about 300 plus technical articles a year, and we make over 400 videos for our clients a year. And then we do things like social media, web development, SEO, advertising, things like that. But yeah, feel free to check us out. We do this all the time. We work with companies, smaller in the 7 figures up to companies in the billions. And we love what we do. So check us out. If it's not something that's industrial manufacturing related, then you really got to do your due diligence. I don't, maybe if you shoot me a message privately, let me know where you're at. I'll see if there's somebody that I know in that area. But hiring an agency is crucial because it's just too much to handle internally for most companies. Yusuf, good. I'm glad that helped you out. Definitely appreciate your comments and keep staying tuned to this live, and check out all my videos on YouTube. There's a ton of content there for you if you already haven't. Kathy Saint, hail to the shop rat. Learn on the yeah, exactly. I mean, I think about my first job as what do they call me? Engineering technician when I was 18. Before that, I was painting walls over the summer when I was 16, 17. At a pretty decently sized company. This back in 1999 and 2000. They were probably, I think they were around 100 million in revenue back then. Based in Chicago. My dad was a machinist at the company. My aunt was the VP. And I just went in there and said, I've got a good mechanical aptitude. I don't know anything technically when it comes to calculus and mathematics and trigonometry and all that stuff, but I have a strong mechanical aptitude. I used to restore muscle cars with my dad when I was a kid. So I know how things work. Let me see if I can apply it. And that's how I got started, and then just worked my way up from there. So Dr. Ramesh, water filters for all applications. I'll shoot you an email after and see if you guys are in a geographic location, and if you're trying to market something that I think we can help out with, and we can definitely have a conversation around that. So we're about 2 minutes past. Like I said, these shows are not as organized as most people have the shows. Blank papers everywhere, and we just kind of come into it and say, hey, look, this is what we want to talk about. I appreciate everybody staying with us, sending the comments. This is the type of engagement that we want. If you see my videos before, you might think that they're scripted. You might think that they're rehearsed a ton, but this is really where myself and the team at MFG Tribe feel like the most value to our audience and to my followers and networks can come from is by doing these live events, answering questions on the fly, even if they're completely off topic and random. This is where the best content comes from. So we've got one more question. Nick, if you want to throw that up there. How can we start molding young technical sales engineers working with soft skills? Most of my team are introverted people. Yeah. So I could tell you that the question number one would be, are they willing to talk to people? I mean, most people are introverted. You don't have to be good in sales. You don't have to, you can be good in sales and still be introverted if you can have conversations, if you have drive. So the best way to learn the soft skills, you can go to Technical Sales University, which is a company that I own. You can check it out on LinkedIn, the company page, or go to technicalsalesuniversity.com or technicalsalesu.com, and check it out. We've got about 8 hours worth of content out there that's teaching people exactly everything that they need to know in sales, to get started. How do you start? How do you build pipelines, things like that. But if your team's introverted, you just have to ask them, like, look, are you okay with having conversations with people? They're not going to be comfortable at first. Just like I wasn't comfortable the first time I turned on a video camera 2.5 years ago. But where the magic happens, like we were talking on last week's show, where the magic happens is when you're in that uncomfortable space. So take them out there in the field, have them be part of meetings, ask them questions about, are they open to having conversations? Can they cold call somebody? And then really start to develop those skills by repetitive cycles and doing things like following the content that we create and follow the stuff on YouTube, and tons of videos out there about technical sales that I've produced. We've probably got, I don't know, probably over 60 on YouTube alone about technical sales, and see if it resonates with them and see if they're interested in it. And that could kind of start to wean out the people that are willing to do it and the people that aren't. But at the end of the day, you got to understand what drives them, what's their motivation. Because if they just want to be behind the scenes, that's fine. There's roles for that. If they're a hunter and they want to, really go out there, make a lot of money, make a lot of change, make a big difference, then those are the people you want to kind of triple down on and really invest into their education. Yusef, one last thing. Is there an email we can contact you on? I would like to have information on your sales training. Yeah, so you can shoot me an email, or even a message on LinkedIn. You can shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email, kyle@mfgtribe.com. I'll put it up here. I already get enough spam, so it's not going to matter if I get more spam. So shoot me an email, and then I'll send you a couple links. You can also send me a message on LinkedIn. You can leave a comment on YouTube, wherever you're watching this, or you can go to mfgtribe.com and just go through the chat. The chat comes directly to me for right now. So if you chat me on either of our websites, Technical Sales University or on mfgtribe.com, then it's coming straight to my phone. Let me put Technical Sales University. Grab a link. And then bear with me. This is all live. Roll. All right, pulling the link now. I'm going to put up there. Should have had this ready, right? Come on, Kyle. I'm off my game. I should have had this ready for those questions. There we go. So there's Technical Sales University, 8 hours of content. I'm going to throw that up there. We'll get back to your comment in 1 second, Kathy. Training.technicalsalesu.com, or you can go to technicalsalesu.com and go through there. This is the enrollment side. And so check it out. 8 hours of content. I go through how to pitch, how to build a pipeline, LinkedIn algorithm, dominate on LinkedIn. Literally 8 hours of me on video were all shot last year. That business was created immediately after COVID happened. As soon as the shutdown started in March, in May, I was in the studio filming those sessions, building out the course, because there's tons of technical salespeople that couldn't travel anymore. And I was like, they need training. I want to get them this training. I'm going to create an organized platform. You could just go through all the YouTube videos, but if you're looking at something where you watch a video, answer questions on a quiz, this is the platform for you, technicalsalesu.com. Check it out. It's pretty cheap, especially when you consider how much sales training costs, classes cost. These courses are pretty cheap, and you have direct access to me for any questions you have. So, Kathy, going back to your question, I'll throw it up there. Will you be posting recording of this later? Absolutely. So this recording will be live. It'll stay on LinkedIn for a few days in our posts. This entire recording will be on YouTube. Nick's going to take the recording and chop it up into other videos and things like that and pull stuff up. But the full recording will be on YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, just search my name on YouTube, and you'll come to the channel. And all the content will be there. Kathy, I appreciate you joining us. I think that's it for open questions. If there's any other questions, we've got maybe a couple minutes left. Any other questions that you guys have? Anything under the sun? Any questions that you have? We'll give it a couple minutes because there is a little bit of a delay that we've noticed on LinkedIn. So it doesn't matter if it's about sales, marketing, small business. We're going to get into a series about small business. So anybody out there that is starting a small business, even if it's not in sales, or technical, industrial type stuff, we're going to do a whole series on how I grew the agency and things that I've learned along the way. Yusuf, thank you. I hopefully more similar interactions with you in the future. All right, brother, I appreciate you. Definitely stay tuned to the lives. Love the interaction. I made my first sales position looking to Kyle a year and a half ago. Awesome. Awesome to hear. Hopefully I had some part to do with that. Hopefully you learned something from the content. And I've gotten messages from people about that. They ask, random times I'll get a message on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I just had this interview with this company. I want you to know, do you think I should take the job as technical sales engineer?" And I'll jump on the phone with them for like 10 minutes and answer their question. Then they'll come back a year later and be like, "Thanks." Next one, startups. How do you help? So I don't, the agency doesn't help startups because typically startups don't have the type of budget that the MFG tribe needs. But the small business series that we're going to start out with will have all the tips if you're going to go grassroots and do it yourself. Right now, it all depends on the industry that you're in, the budget that you have. If it's a startup and you have seed money and things like that, and you've raised some capital, and you're in industrial or manufacturing, then MFG Tribe is the best solution for you because we've got over 20 years experience, individual experience working in those industries and those niches. And there is not, out of all of our competitors in the marketing space, we have 2 degreed engineers on staff, 1 chemical engineer and 1 mechanical engineer. Our mechanical engineer graduated from Purdue. No other agency has that. You cannot touch our technical articles. They dominate the industry. Some of the top industry content that's out there in specific niches was written by us for that company because we just know what we're doing. So yeah, we can't, it all depends on the startups. Feel free to shoot me a message on LinkedIn with some more details behind what it is. If it's industrial and manufacturing, then yes, we want to talk. If it's something random, I could do what I can to help you out, but it wouldn't be from a service standpoint. Thanks for the info. Great. Yes, we have about 60 startups. Yeah, so we might be able to put something together to at least provide some training or at least send you over some content, some playlists, some stuff that's out there. I'm going to be going a little bit deeper into the small business world because there's a lot of local companies here in Austin, Texas, and just throughout the country. But there's a lot of local companies that could use the knowledge if they're going grassroots on how to do things, what to focus on, and not get hosed by agencies that are like, you need to focus on AdWords and Google ads and advertising. That's the best way to do it. I think the exact opposite of that. So a lot more content to come. We're probably going to be increasing the frequency of these shows to where they're multiple times a week because we've gotten such great feedback and engagement from you guys, which I totally appreciate. I've seen some live events out there where there's like 2 comments and it totally sucks. From a presenter's standpoint, the more engagement that we get, the more we want to do these. So if you're getting value out of it, hit those thumbs on LinkedIn, give a like on YouTube, definitely engage and leave comments. All right. So last comment, our office, I can't even talk today. It's Friday, man. Our office in Houston may contact you. Yeah, definitely reach out through LinkedIn is the fastest way. I threw my email up there. Shoot me an email, come in through the website, mfgtribe.com. we'll see if there's something that we could do to help you guys out. So I think that's it. Make sure that we didn't miss any questions, answering any questions. I think we're good to go. Oh, last question from Adam. What does success look like for a first-year sales engineer selling primarily to distributors? That is okay, selling to distributors. So question for you back, Adam. Are you selling to distributors? Are you getting a commission on that? Or are you building out relationships for the distributors to sell directly to your clients? That would be the first question I have. In general, first year sales engineer, I wouldn't expect a ton unless you're working for me. If you're working for me, I would expect a ton because I'm going to give you all the training that you need, all the access to all the knowledge, and tell you exactly how to dominate. And I would expect you to close over $1 million worth of business. In your situation, it depends. What's the value of one client? And I don't mean from a generic standpoint of like, oh, one client could be worth $1 million, but what's an average sale for you? I have high expectations if you're being trained by me. So Brett Gill, next time I'm in Texas, I'm going to hit you up, coffee, lunch. Yeah, definitely, Brett. Come on by. Nick will join us too. Nick's in Austin too. So we'll meet you for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. Go out. Definitely love to have you. So Adam said no commission. Throw that up there, Nick. No commission, developing relationships every day. Yeah. So no commission. What I would expect is every single day you are working towards expanding your network. I would expect your LinkedIn to grow by, if you've got 400 connections, I would expect it to go to 4,000 within the first few months. How you do that, those are secrets that we have, that we do for people. Definitely look into that. I would expect you to be growing your network every day, having conversations, getting people the information that they need, and building out your database and identifying who are the people that you need to be working with, or who are the people in the different, if you're going after distributors, what type of buckets can you throw them into? Is it distribution for one specific channel? Is it distribution in a specific region? Break all those regions out. Now you want to fill up all those potential people that you can talk to and then start attacking them from there to build out those relationships. So I would expect you to be hustling every single day without knowing the exact details of what it is that you guys do. I would be able to give you a KPI or what I would hold you to, but just understand this. The technical sales role and the industries and industrial and manufacturing specifically are very tired. And there's a lot of veterans that are going to be retiring if they haven't already, and will be continuing to retire in the next 5 to 15 years. Now is the time to come in with a lot of energy and a lot of new strategies, new ways of doing things. Don't just focus on the old ways of trade shows and cold calls and things like that. Building out that LinkedIn presence, that network, that's what works right now. That's what people want to see. So doing that now is going to give you more growth and more speed to get to the point where you're closing deals. So if I was, I'm going to turn 40 years old in March of next year. If I was 15 years younger, I would triple down on LinkedIn and I would be busting my butt every single day, engaging with people, building relationships, and identifying who I want to talk to. You can't just go after everybody. It's not a shotgun approach. It's not like doing birdshot. For those of you that are into guns, it's more like double aught. So you're not trying to go after everybody. You're just trying to go after a strategic niche and a strategic market, and be strategic in who you're trying to go after, but don't be super focused to where, you're doing account-based marketing and only going after 65 companies. It needs to be bigger than that, because like I said earlier in this live, it's all about what is the denominator in sales. Are you going after 60 people or 6,000 or 600 or 6 million? And it's good to have a niche, but you have to figure out strategically who you need to go after. Nice weekend. Need to back to office. Thanks again, Kyle and production staff. See you now. All right. Sounds good. I appreciate you coming through. That's about it for now, guys. Feel free to leave comments if you're viewing this after the event, after being live, and you're viewing a recorded event of it, recorded event. No, if you're just reviewing a recording of it, whether it's on LinkedIn or on YouTube, leave a comment and I will jump in there and I will personally answer those questions. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Be sure that you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. This stuff that we do every single week. We're putting out videos. We got over 100 and probably 40 videos on YouTube right now. Make sure that you guys check those out. If you have questions, leave them in comments. I appreciate all the support. You're instrumental in helping me land my job. I will continue to develop my LinkedIn profile. Thank you. You got it, Adam. And I appreciate that. And that right there is why we continue to make content. If there's something that I did, a piece of a video that I did that you saw that helped you get a job, then that's great, because all I'm looking to do is provide value and pay it forward, right? And so continue checking in new content every single week. And we're going to be tripling down on this by the end of the year with the amount of content that we're producing, because we really want to engage with people and give them exactly what they need and answer the specific questions that you have. You can find us every Friday at noon Central Standard Time on going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'll answer any question you got as long as it's not a crazy question. And Nick will throw them up there. So thank you guys for staying with us for these 40. Oh, and I just messed up the camera. 48 minutes, and I appreciate you. I appreciate all the support and all the comments, and we will see you on the next one.
Gladiator in this art of war. What you think that I've been fighting for? Got a cape on like a superhero. They rushing at me like a matador. Nah, I don't need your energy. I don't need the negativity. I'm just trying to bring my people up. Promise y'all I got the remedy. Straight to the roof, tell them we bringing the troops. We got a little surprise, you thinking that we ain't the truth. We keep it 120, we never make an excuse. So go run and tell everybody down, now we coming for you.